This is the Racial Matters book review. Take one. Okay, welcome. I'm live right now. You're with me, Frank. Some people know me as Alkanar. Or you might want to call me Yashar. Basically, my name is Frank. Um, what I'm looking at doing is making this introductory live clip for my online media event. Later today, I'll be sharing a link from my YouTube channel. There's an hour-long episode that I've pre-recorded where I reviewed Chapter 7 of this book, Racial Matters by Kenneth O'Reilly. It's a book to do with the FBI's secret file on Black America from 1960 to 1972. I bought this from Amazon and it was delivered here to my home address. The book was recommended by a Facebook friend, my Facebook friend Nathaniel. Nathaniel is American, he's also black. And big up Nathaniel, thanks for the recommendation. He recommended it because he noticed a post of mine which stated I was reading a book by Albert Camus at the time, which was to do with Christian rebellion and rebellion in general, from the likes of oppression and tyranny. And he recommended this book, Racial Matters. I'm quickly just going to break down the history and the current affairs related to this book. It's got some critics who have quotes related to it, like this one from the New York Times: a remarkable look at the inner workings of the Bureau and its relentless drive to destroy the civil rights movement and its most visible leader, Martin Luther King Jr. And then you've got another one, David J. Garrow, author of the Pulitzer Prize winning Bearing the Cross, Martin Luther King Jr. and the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. Racial Matters reflects top-notch, first-rate depth and breadth of research. It is essential reading for all those interested in civil rights. And lastly, The Nation. O'Reilly makes clear that racism in American society and in the FBI went hand in hand from the start. Yeah. Let's get right with the introduction. On its introduction, civil rights, civil liberties. Pardon me. It starts to say she was a child of Sunflower County, Mississippi, the youngest of 20 children, born to 2 Delta sharecroppers, and she had lived all 45 of her years in a world of white over black. A large woman with soft eyes and a limp in her walk from a bout with polio. She never dreamed Jim Crow could be knocked down until 1962, when 3 voter registration workers from the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, that's the SNCC, pronounced SNCC, changed her sense of the possible when they asked for those to raise their hands who'd go down to the courthouse the next day. I raised mine, had it up as high as I could get it, she said, describing her decision in the spirit of the Exodus. Heading: your flock out of the chains and fetters of Egypt. Taken. them yourself to register tomorrow in Indianola. A lifelong fear of white men who ran Sunflower County disappeared that day. The only thing they could do to me was kill me, she reasoned. And it seemed like they'd been trying to do that a little bit at a time ever since I could remember. During the months ahead, they would certainly try. Her name was Fannie Lou Hammer, and her first encounter with J. Edgar Hoover's Federal Bureau of Investigation occurred after she attempted to place her name on the voter rolls at the courthouse. And she was arrested by the county police. She got evicted from the shack on a cotton plantation that had been her home for 18 years. She fled the state when gunmen fired shots into the Rouville house of the friend who'd been putting her up. The FBI agents, they told her they could do nothing about the arrest, the eviction, or the shooting. Therefore, she gathered all the courage that she could, and she led herself to Indianola. She came home to Mississippi after a few weeks and was back in the beloved movement of her leaders. She had a rousing singing voice, and few civil rights workers easily forgot the sight of her swaying, crying, and shouting out the verses of "We Shall Overcome." She announced that if she was shot down and killed, she'd be buried right then. She had a second encounter with the FBI, and this occurred in June 1963. It was when she stepped off a bus in Winona, Mississippi. So, try to cut a long story short, without any mumbling, fluffing of my lines. Now, herself, and I think some other black people were ordered by arrest from where they were, and then they were brutalized, or at least 4 of them were brutalized, by a group of police officers at the Montgomery County jail. They botched the first beating. Is a 14-year-old girl, June Johnson, and she bled profusely. Apparently they used blackjacks on the others and interrogating them. Hitting them over the head. They wanted to know who reported them to the federal government. And as they continued to forcefully make prisoners of them, whilst assaulting them with permanent damage to their internal organs and their eyes and their heads. They began to make matters worse. So they are pummeling them with their fists and their gun barrels. He said that the lady, I've spoken about already, said something like this. She said this: the only difference was they'd taken paper and tried to burn his private off. So, and then they turned him over to the private sector for the terror-filled automobile ride and another beating in the hills surrounding the town. Things ended as they begun, in a bloodshed. There's no justice in racism. Racism is an injustice. The only way to triumph the injustice of racism is to have a proper education in the truth and respect for that education in the truth. Because racism is wrong, racism is bad, racism is negative, racism is unlawful. And on that note, that's as far as I'm going to go with this live intro. I'll be sharing the link later today, about 7 in the evening, GMT. As I said, it's an hour long. It's all about chapter 7. I don't really like going live. It was a bit nerve-wracking. Thanks for bearing with me. I wanted to try and keep it as short and sweet as possible. Not the nicest topic, I know. It's somewhat unpalatable subject matter, but it's ever pertinent, and it's not just worth talking about, it's worth reading about, it's worth thinking about, it's worth absorbing all of that and doing the right thing by it all, and understanding such tragic situations in the past like this seemingly seem to go on for centuries and centuries in history. Even white on white forms of racism, which is not to be tolerated as well. And so let's all take a deep breath. Thanks. Remember to tune in 7 o'clock this evening. I'll try. It's only going to be this one episode. There will be other episodes as I cover a few other chapters from the book, but I'll try to condense everything and not make the episodes so long. There'll be some more live footage as well here and there. I'm going to spend the next few days doing it. You can expect more book reviews, the types of literature and poetry as well that I will be doing and making. The more I make, the better I should get at it, hopefully. If you've got any comments and feedback, please send them. I can work with it as we go, and we try to make this type of thing regular and interesting and a bit creative as well. Cool.